When we work with large language models like ChatGPT, we usually face one main problem, which is privacy. When we use this type of APIs, we are sending our private data to OpenAI, and this might raise some concerns. So is there any other option to still get the best of large language model and keeping our data privately? This is exactly what we will see in this video. And what we are going to do is deploy an open source model. In this case, it's going to be Falcon 7 billion parameters. So we can get the best of the large language model and still keep our data privately. And we will achieve that using Amazon Web Service SageMaker. In order to achieve this task, we will be following these 4 steps that we have in this notebook. I will share with you the link in the description of the video. So as we can see, there are just 4 sections: configuration, Amazon Web Service session, deployment, and inference. We might think that deployment and inference is going to be the most difficult, but actually it's going to be very simple. Where we are going to have to spend more time is going to be configuring the session for Amazon Web Service. And this is just going to depend if we have more or less experience using Amazon Web Service. So let's go just first to configuration. And here we are just installing the required libraries and loading them. Perfect. And now we can go to the second section. As you can see, the first one was not that difficult. In order to be able to use the service of SageMaker, we need first to log in. We need a user ID and a secret key. It's kind of email and password, but for the computers. So we need to look for this access key and secret access key. For that, we go to Management Console. We go to I am Service. And under users, in my case, I'm working with user only one, Daniel, and with administrator access. Over here in security credential, we go to access key, create access key. It's going to be for local code. This is just a warning. And now a description. And this is going to be our user and our secret access key. So we need to save this information. We can just copy over here like this or download the file. Just be very careful once you have been shown this one, and if you click done, you will never be able to see them again. So once we are here, we just pass, it will be something like that, and then the secret key. This is going to be one option as you have here. I'm going to use the second option. And the second option is just to create a file like this one, where we have exactly the same keys, access key ID and secret access key. And then here I will just pass the value. I will use this file because it's gonna be more simple for me. I upload the file over here. One thing I need is just to change the name and add a dot before. If you don't see this file, this is because maybe you haven't pressed here. And here we have the file. So in my case, I'm going to use option 2. Perfect. And then the second thing we need is to define the region name. In my case, I will be working in North Virginia. So we just go over here and use, you can see US East 1 is North Virginia. And the second main thing is going to be the SageMaker execution role. This is a role we will need to create. For that, we go back to I am Service and the role section, and we look for this role. In my case, I have already created this one. I'm gonna delete it, and in this way we can do it together so we can get all the step by step. I go under create role, and the service here is gonna be SageMaker. I click under execution and then next. I'm gonna add the policy or the permission of Amazon SageMaker full access. And we just click next. The role name is the one I've copied from the notebook. And we have everything ready. As we can see, it's already creating this execution role. And now we have everything ready to authenticate through this notebook to our Amazon Web Service SageMaker. We have our access key ID and our secret key and the region name. This is going to be our arguments for authentication. And we're going to use it in 2 steps. First with Boto3, which is the SDK from Amazon Web Service. And again, the SageMaker SDK, this is specifically also created from Amazon Web Service, but in this case, just to use the service of Amazon SageMaker. And we are using these arguments that we have here. So we just execute this. If in any case you have some doubts with the secret keys or with the role, I have added some links, so you can check in the documentation of Amazon Web Service. And now everything is ready for the deployment. First, we need to identify the container we will be working with. In this case, SageMaker have created a specific container for inference when we work with large language model. It has been optimized specifically for doing inference for this type of models. So we just need to get this URI, and also it has been specifically created for HuggingFace model. So we just get this, which is going to be the URI we'll be working with. As you can see, it's specific depending on the region. And here we define the model we'll be working with. In our case, it's going to be Falcon 7B, again, from HuggingFace. If you go over here, you can check and see all the information from the model. And this is going to be all the files we'll be downloading in order to be able to deploy the model in our own virtual machine. Once we have the model, we have it here. We pass also the role, which is the one we have created previously, the image that we have defined here, and then the session created from SageMaker. Once we have created this new object, we just need to use the function of deploy. And there are two main important things we need to pass: the number of instances and the type of instance. Most probably, if you execute this cell, you are going to have some error. This is due to the problem that this machine or this virtual machine usually is not allowed to be used. Usually our limit in this type of machine is 0. This type of machine is a very powerful one and also a very expensive. So Amazon Web Service is going to limit the type of machine we can use, so we don't incur in very high expenses. So let's see, for example, this machine per month is going to be around almost $900. So it's going to be quite a lot. And again, by default, Amazon Web Service is not allowing us to use this type of machine. And the question is, why don't we use a smaller type of machine? The reason is that this type of models, they require a lot of space and very powerful machine. So this is one I've seen that is kind of the most, which is the cheapest one, and at the same time that is enough to deploy the model we are working with. So how can we overcome this problem? Over here, we go under our section, service quota, and we have to check that is the region we are working with. So we go under services, SageMaker, and then we will look for this specifically machine. So as we can see, this machine can be used for endpoint, for notebook instance, spot training job, and many others. In our case, we are focusing on endpoint usage. We just do over here a request quota increase. And in my case, I already have 2. In your case, you will most probably will have 0. So we just increase to 1 or 2, depending how many you want. And then you request. Just be careful, because once we request, it usually takes 2-3 days, but we don't receive any email or any notification or any confirmation that they have increased this quota. So we'll have to be checking every now and then to see if they have fulfilled this change. And once the change has been fulfilled, we will be able to deploy this model. If we go to SageMaker, we can check here under Inference that we have downloaded a new model, that we have created an endpoint configuration, and that our endpoint is being created. And this is the endpoint we will be using. If we want more detail about the model, we can see that we are using the Falcon 7B from HuggingFace. And this process of deployment, because it's a very big model, can take around 7 minutes. So let's wait till it finishes. One reminder is, once we finish this tutorial, or once you have finished to work with this notebook, please remember to delete this virtual machine, because it's very expensive. And if we just forgot about this virtual machine that we have created, we can have a bad surprise by the end of the month. So it has already happened to some students. And sometimes Amazon usually returns the money and you can try to recover your money. But again, it's not a very nice thing to have a very big bill by the end of the month. So once you finish using this tutorial and testing the deployment of the model, please remember to delete this virtual machine. After this, at the end of the video, we'll see how to delete this machine. Once we see this exclamation mark, it means that the deployment has finished. In order to check, we can go to endpoint, and now we can see that the endpoint is in service. So now we are ready to send requests to our model. And this is where we're going to do the inference. And the inference, again, is going to be very, very simple. This is going to be our prompt. We are just saying that this model is the most advanced AI assistant and it's called Falcon. And then I'm just going to ask, what is the capital of Spain? And then I'm waiting or expecting the answer from Falcon. Here we are going to have the hyperparameters from the request. And then we just have to do this predict. And as simple as that, we have the answer. The capital of Spain, it hasn't finished properly, is Madrid. So there you have it. And in this very simple manner, we already have the model deployed in our own virtual machines, and all the data we are sending is going to stay private. If I want just to change the question, I will just need to go over here and change this prompt. Once we have finished playing or testing this deployment, again, remember to delete the model and the endpoint, because if not, the bill is going to be very expensive. So how can we delete the model? We just come over here, we execute this cell, and then we double check that the endpoint has been deleted. If we want to check over this web page, always check that we are working in the same region than the one we have defined previously on the notebook. And we have deleted the endpoint configurations, and the model. So we have just seen how to deploy the model Falcon 7B. We could use any other model and deploy it in our own virtual machines in Sagemaker. In this way, all the information we'll be sending to our model is going to stay private in our own virtual machine. So this is the end for this tutorial. I hope you have learned something new and you had some fun, and see you in the next one.